This program is presented by Community Television.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I'm with the Wisconsin Nutrition Education Program, and with me is
Eric.
Eric, and Eric is from the Eau Claire School District Alternative High School here in Eau Claire. And today we are going to make what, Eric?
Asian noodles and beef.
Asian noodles and beef. And Asian noodles and beef have a product that many teenagers like to eat. What are those?
Ramen noodles.
Ramen noodles. And they're pretty salty.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is show you how to put some extra ingredients to them, which will dilute some of the salt and make it healthier. So Eric's going to read the ingredients for us today to make Asian noodles and beef.
Right. 1 pound of ground beef or turkey, 1 small onion chopped, 3 stalks celery thinly sliced, 2 cups water or juice from canned vegetables, 2 packages, 3 ounces each ramen noodles, 2 or 3 cups frozen or 2 or 15 ounce cans mixed vegetables, 1/4 teaspoon ginger, 8 ounces tomato sauce.
Okay, well, let's begin. First, we got to make sure that heat is on, right?
Right.
So we're going to push that really down so it starts. And what are we going to add first to the pan?
We're going to add hamburger meat.
Hamburger meat. This is ground beef, and you could add ground turkey, right?
Right.
Okay, so if you want to put that in, Eric, you're going to just dump it into the pan. Doesn't want to come out, does it? There we go. There it's coming out. One more piece there. We're going to try not to touch the hamburger because there's lots of bacteria in hamburger, isn't there, Eric?
Right.
So you're going to start stirring that a little bit. And I'm going to start adding some vegetables. I have some celery here. So you can just start stirring that as you go. We want to break it up a little bit, so that it isn't one big chunk. We don't want a big hamburger in our recipe, do we? We want little pieces of hamburger. So Eric's going to do that. And I'm going to cut the vegetables. We have celery. These have all been washed. And one thing about celery, because of its ridges, it's important to clean it and scrub it with water, no soap, but clean it with water and use a scrub brush to get all the dirt off the ridges because celery grows in the dirt, doesn't it?
Right.
So what we're going to do then is we are going to cut up the celery into pieces. Now, how big or how small you cut the celery, what do you think, Eric? Do you like big chunks of celery or little chunks of celery? What's your favorite? Do you like it in big chunks or little?
Little chunks?
Little chunks, okay. So we're going to do little chunks for Eric. And we're just going to cut it up. I noticed that when I cut this, I have several different pieces together, so it doesn't go so slow. I want to get this done and eat because I'm hungry. How about you, Eric? Are you getting hungry?
Yes.
Oh, I am. Okay, so again, we're going to take it and cut these into some separate pieces. And then scrunch them all together so I can cut it all at one time and I can do it nice and fast. Now, if you like, you could leave it into the half circles that the celery is, just the way it is, and use it that way and have bigger chunks. It just depends on what you like. If you have children at your house, I cut it small. I think they're going to like it better. Then we're going to stick this in here. Whoop, I almost missed the fry pan, didn't I?
Yeah.
In fact, I did. We'll have to get that one back in. And before we got started cooking, we washed our hands, didn't we, Eric?
Yep.
Right? And it's really important. Why should we wash our hands?
To get rid of all the bacteria, then.
Very good. We don't want bacteria on our hands that could get in the food and make people sick. So we washed our hands really well for 20 seconds. That's like singing happy birthday twice, right?
Yep.
While I wash my hands. Now I'm going to cut the onion. And let's hope I don't start crying here.
No, you won't.
Let's hope not. When I'm cutting the onion, one thing I want to make sure of, and when you're trying to help people to learn how to cut if they haven't done much cutting, is to always cut away from yourself. It's really not a good idea to be cutting your onion like this. You want to go away from yourself. One of the hard parts is getting that peel off. Sometimes if I make a few little cuts in the sections, it's easier to get those pieces off. So I'm going to cut down on this and get my pieces off. The brown part, the part that's kind of dry. We don't want to eat that dry part, do we, Eric?
No.
Nope. So we're going to cut that off. Get rid of that part. All of that dry part. And Eric's doing a great job of cooking that hamburger. And this is electric heat, so it takes a while to get the heat going. And once it goes, sometimes it goes too much. So one thing about electric heat, you may find that you need to turn it down a little bit as it gets started, once it gets going. Okay, so I've got my onion cut in half. And then, what do you think, Eric? Should I cut it this way or should I put it flat? What's safer?
The other way?
I want it flat, right? If I cut like this, it could wobble around and I could cut myself.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to cut myself.
So you want it flat?
Blood in the food is not a good plan, right?
Right.
No, we don't want blood in the food. Okay, so we're going to keep it flat, and it's starting to get me. Ooh,
Yep.
kind of strong. Are you starting to get your eyes watering?
No.
From that onion? Well, that's just because you're not that close to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to cut this up, and we're going to put this in for Eric, so that cooks too. Those onions, yum. They smell good. They give it a lot of flavor.
Then I can mix it up.
You can keep mixing it up. You're right. Now, I also have a little piece of the onion that's kind of thick at the bottom, so I'm going to get rid of that. And all those little pieces of vegetables that you have left over, if you have compost at home, you can compost them. Or if you have a guinea pig,
Yeah.
yep, or a rabbit, maybe they could eat some of that.
I think those steam is making me cry or something.
It's making you cry, those onions now? See, I told you they were bad. I got a little spot on that onion that's a little brown, so I'm going to throw that away.
Yep. And
Okay. And here we go. Now you got some more onions to make you cry, okay?
I'll try to be careful not to cry too much.
You'll try not to cry too much. Well, that's a good idea. Okay, so we're cutting this all up. Just to talk a little bit more about this hamburger, if we buy more expensive hamburger, usually there's less fat in it. And so it's hard to decide. If we don't have a lot of money, we might have to buy hamburger that's cheaper and has more fat. And so the more fat in it, when the hamburger cooks, the fat's going to melt, isn't it, Eric?
Right.
And then we may need to drain it. So we'll get this cooking and see how much fat there is. I have a colander here. This is an easy way to drain. And then it'll go right into my bowl underneath. Or you can do this in the sink. But be really careful at home if you're draining hamburger in the sink, because that fat can clog the drain, and that's not good. We don't want the drain to be all clogged up. So if you do if you drain your meat into your sink, use lots of hot water in order to make sure that it's not going to plug up that sink.
Yeah.
Now, what are we looking for? We're trying not to have any what, Eric?
Any pink.
Any pink. So you're turning those pieces around a little bit some of those might go in the center, right? Because it's probably hotter in the center.
Oops.
Yep, that's okay. You know what? We're going to have a few pieces go on the floor. Should we eat them when we get them on? When they go on the floor, should we eat them?
No.
No, we should throw that away, right?
Right.
Yep, we need to throw that away. Okay, looks like it's getting better. Not so much pink. And we're going to chop it a little bit. Get that hamburger chopped up a little bit. Yep, good job. Now, the onion's pretty white now. How do I know when the onion is done?
Maybe when it's cooked, I guess.
Yep. And what will it look like when it's cooked? Now it's really white in some places. What will happen? How will it look different? Well, let's quit cooking it and see what happens, okay?
Okay.
This is kind of we are trying to make a prediction. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll just see what happens. What's your prediction? What do you think will happen?
It might turn kind of yellow a little bit.
A little yellower. It's starting to turn a little yellower and kind of more clear. I think it's going to turn a little more clear. So let's see if my prediction is right. So it's getting close there, isn't it? And usually we are going to cook the onions and the green and the celery a little bit, the green celery, because it's more flavorful when we cook it a little bit rather than just put it in at the end. And it's going to be a lot stronger, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we cook it right at the end. We don't want it to taste too strong, right?
Right. It's probably the only steamy. It's like catching my thought.
When you cook it, it makes it a little sweeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Okay.
Just let me bring this in center.
Yeah. Okay. And I would say, what do you think? The hamburger is done, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a little fat here. So if you have a lot of fat, I'm going to take your spatula for a minute. Now, don't get too close to this burner because it's going to be hot. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to just drain it in here so you can see that there is some fat here that we don't really need to eat. It doesn't, fat isn't that great for our diets, is it?
Right.
Right, it tends to make us kind of chubby. Okay, that got kind of hot, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
now what we're going to do is chop this up even a tiny bit more. And if you really want to reduce the fat, you can also go to the sink and rinse it in hot water. And you might go, oh my gosh, that's going to get all of the flavor out. But it really doesn't that much and is a good way to reduce, again, the calories and fat. So we've got it drained. And then we're going to put some noodles in here. But in order to do the noodles, see, you can see there is some fat in there, isn't there?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, that's our fat we want to get rid of. I'm going to give you your tool back so you're ready to stir. And I want you to be really careful because we're going to add some water to this, and it could really kind of start steaming now, right? Okay, then what we decided we're going to add to this, we're going to get that water boiling. We're going to add some ramen noodles. Oh, I scared you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
We're going to pound on those and get them broken up. So this is something fun to do. Gets out all your aggressions. Scares your working partner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of
Yeah.
freaked me out a little
Sorry.
bit.
Didn't mean to scare you. Okay, so we're going to take those, break them up a little bit before you put them in, because after you put them in, it's kind of hard to, isn't it? Okay, so would you like to pour those in?
Yes.
Okay. Good job. Okay. Now there's also a packet, isn't there? A seasoning packet. This one happens to be beef that we're using. Would you have to use beef?
No.
No?
You can use different kinds instead of beef.
Sure. Any flavor of ramen noodles that you happen to have at home will work. Okay. So what's in the flavor packet mostly?
Looks like kind of like dust or dirt.
Yeah, it kind of looks like dust or dirt, but it's really not.
No.
It's more like beef bouillon. And one thing we know about beef bouillon It's really salty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
okay?
very salty and plus it has fat in it.
Yeah, and there's some fat in our ramen noodles too. So we're going to pound this again. So we're going to put 2 packets in there. So we're not cooking these noodles ahead of time. Now, is it okay for me to dump that seasoned pack into the pot?
Yeah.
Is that good to do?
No.
No. Okay, here you go. Put in some more.
Sort of burned me.
Yeah, we don't want to eat metal, do we? Okay.
The pot sort of accidentally burned me.
Okay, here we go. Now we've got the noodles in. Stir that up a little more. And Eric says I got to open this. I can't just throw the packet in.
Right. If you throw the packet in, then probably, it's gonna get a little bit wet.
Yes, and it wouldn't be very good either because it would be hot, and then I've got to try to get it out of there. So, not a good idea to throw the packet in.
Right.
Okay. And I'm trying to get all of this out here. Now, if you wanted to reduce the salt a little more, you could just put 1 packet of the seasoning in instead of 2 of them.
Right.
We're going to add tomato sauce to the recipe. You don't have to do that. You could.
You can also use ginger.
Yep, we're going to add some ginger too. That's one of the flavorings, the seasonings we're going to add. And we did wipe off the top of the can already. You want to be very careful when you take the lid off so you don't cut yourself. Yep. And we're only going to use half of this because this is a 15-ounce can and we only need 8 ounces. So the rest of it, if I can't use right away, I'm going to put it in the freezer. Okay, so stir that up really well. And we are going to add a little bit of ginger. Ginger is an Asian spice, a spice that's used a lot in Asian cooking. And I've got a 1/4 teaspoon. I'm going to use a little container when I measure that ginger because sometimes I can get too much.
Right.
And then it goes somewhere else. I don't do this over the pot, right? Because I might have way too much. Okay, so we're going to put that in. And then, let's say you like to experiment with cooking, right? If you want to experiment, you could also add a little bit of garlic. If you like garlic.
Garlic.
And again, we're going to measure it over our container here. Make sure that we got what we want before we put it in the pot. And then Eric's going to stir that around. And if you wanted, you could add a little black pepper. A lot of people like black pepper. There you go, Eric, that helps.
Yep.
So we're just going to sprinkle a tiny bit of black pepper in there. And then, how are the noodles doing? Are they getting really, I'm going to turn that heat down a little bit so the noodles can cook and we don't lose too much liquid. If they're pretty much done, we're going to add those vegetables. We have a bag of stir-fry vegetables here. You can use stir-fry vegetables. You could use mixed vegetables. That would be corn and peas and carrots usually, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to keep it oriental here. I'll see if I can get the bag open. And we're going to put those vegetables in. Okay. Now, do we have a pot of food or what? Wow. So can you stir that in a little bit? It's getting full, so it's kind of hard to handle it, isn't it, Eric?
Yeah, even though it's hard, just like move it around a little bit to the side, in the middles, or whatever.
And if there are pieces in there that you are like, oh my goodness, that's way too big. Does that look like an awful big piece of onion to eat?
No. Really.
I think so, especially if you don't really like onion.
You got to like cut them up. And
yeah, so if some of them seem like they're really too big, if there's anything in there that you go, oh wow, that's really too big. But you can see we have some red pepper in here, we have some broccoli. So again, if people are like, oh, I'm not sure about broccoli, then you could take that out and cut it up a little bit more.
Should we cut the pepper a little bit more?
What do you think? Is that too big a pepper, do you think?
It kind of looks like it.
Okay, well, that's where you get to make some choices here, don't you? All right, so I can cut that up just a little bit more. Okay. There's even a little celery in this, so we even got added celery, didn't we?
Yep.
Do you know what these white pieces are here?
They look like onions.
Well, they look like onions. Those are water chestnuts.
Or what? Water chestnuts?
Chestnuts, yeah, they're very Asian. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to put the cover on. So we'll put the cover on, and this is going to cook until the noodles are done. I'm going to turn it down now because with the cover on, it's going to cook even harder, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, and when the vegetables are cooked and the noodles are soft, will we be ready to eat?
Yes.
Yes, so we're going to meet you at the table. What do you want to say, Eric?
I would say it was awesome cooking, even though I got burned a couple times. I enjoyed it.
Okay, it was fun cooking. What do you think of our meal? Is it pretty colorful?
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be good to eat?
Yes.
And we have foods from almost every food group, don't we?
Yep.
Let's see. What food groups do we have?
We have
The carrots?
vegetables.
Yep.
We got protein.
We have protein. Do we have noodles? Do we have grain?
We had grain.
Grain with the noodles. Do we have any fruit?
Yes, right here.
We have fruit and
We have dairy.
dairy. So we have a food from each food group in our meal. And we're ready to eat.
Yep.
This program was recorded and presented by Chippewa Valley Community Television. Chippewa Valley Community Television is made possible by continuing community support. If you'd like to volunteer or make a donation, you can contact us by calling 715-839-5067 or on the web at www.cvctv.org.